Hello everyone, welcome to Arcade Viking. At the time that I'm recording this video, it is the day before the start of Black History Month in February. So in honor of Black History Month, I am recording two videos on lesser known Black and African military leaders. Now I'm doing this because um, far too often the most well-known military and political leaders to people really in the modern world throughout history are white military leaders and political leaders, such as for example, Robert E. Lee, Dwight D. Eisenhower, Napoleon, etc. And while of course they all deserve some degree of attention, there are, other military leaders out there and political leaders from history that also deserve attention, um, including people of color. So, with that in mind, I'm going to shed a little bit more light and attention on individuals who I feel deserve the attention and limelight a little bit more than say, or at least equally to, uh, say, Napoleon or Robert E. Lee, etc. So, with that in mind, the first video of this two-part series is going to focus on the life of Malik Ambar, the African Lord of India, an individual who rose to prominence in the late 1500s and early 1600s uh, Deccan Plateau of India, gaining quite a lot of political power and prominence, and leaving uh, quite a big legacy uh, on the Deccan Plateau of India. All right, so with that, we're going to first take a look at Malik Ambar's early life. So Malik Ambar was born in the Adal Sultanate of Ethiopia to either the Oromo people uh, down here or to the now extinct Maya people who are possibly related to the Aithor people of modern day Ethiopia. And he was born in 1548 CE. A little caveat here and a little clarification: the Maya people uh, of Ethiopia are not to be mistaken for the Maya people of Central America. They are completely different groups, and it's very likely I may be slightly mispronouncing how the name is, though it should also be noted that I did look for the correct pronunciation of the Maya people of Ethiopia, and unlike Oromo, I was unable to find any uh, correct pronunciation for these groups of people. All right, so very early on in Malik Ambar's life, he was sold into slavery by his parents. He would then be resold several times in markets within the Ottoman Empire, being resold in Yemen, twice in Baghdad, and then eventually resold in Mecca before being eventually taken to the Deccan Plateau of India. And here is the Deccan Plateau of India here, essentially in central and southern India, or well, central India is probably the best region to explain it as. Once in the Deccan Plateau, Malik Ambar will become part of an ethnic minority group of African descendants known as the City, an ethnic minority group that is still present in India to this day, as you can see here. However, his circumstances would improve after his enslaver died. Upon which, after the death of his enslaver, Malik Ambar would be freed by his enslaver's wife, and then he would eventually join the army of the Ahmednagar Sultanate under the service of the Nizam Shahs. And early in his military career, Malik Ambar would play a major part in the construction of the Murad Janjira fort, helping construct it in 1567 CE. Eventually, Malik Ambar would become the regent of Murtaza Nizam Shah II, uh, as well as the regent of the Nizam Shahi dynasty itself. And he would be the regent of Murtaza Nizam Shah II and the Nizam Shahi dynasty, roughly in the 27-year period between 1600 to 1627 CE. Over the first decade of his regency, Malik Ambar would go on to increase the strength of the Ahmed Nagar Sultanate and its army by increasing the cavalry from roughly 150 to 7,000 horsemen. He would also go on to appoint puppet sultans to repel Mughal attacks from the north, and would repeatedly defeat Mughal Emperor Jahangir attempts to take over the empire. In fact, Jahangir would often state that Malik Ambar was his nemesis in his writings. And here is a picture of the Ahmed Nagar cavalry fighting the Mughal cavalry, and here is Jahangir here. With that, let's take a real quick second to take a look at the overall makeup of Indian soldiers and their weapons roughly around the 1600s CE time period. So generally overall, Indian soldiers, whether it be in the Deccan Plateau or in the Mughal Empire, looked very similar, of course, with some minor differences. Of course, those soldiers in the Deccan Plateau might look something like this picture over here, while Mughal soldiers were a lot of times, at least in their early years of the Mughal Empire, heavily cavalry-based. After all, the Mughal Empire was an offshoot empire of the Mongol Empire, so it makes sense. But it doesn't change that they would still use very similar weapons overall. And these weapons included a variety of different styles and different types of weapons, such as the Indian talwar saber that you see here. There would be sort of gauntlet type swords like you see over here, various different types of halberds. And of course, around this time, there were muskets, gunpowder weapons that were in use. Now, they were used in more quantities in the Mughal Empire, but the Deccan sultanates, such as the Ahmednagar Sultanate, did also make use of muskets to varying degrees in their militaries. Some of the other weapons that would be used by the sultanates in the Deccan Plateau, as well as the Mughal Empire, included things like the Indo-Persian or the Turco-Mongolic composite bows. There are some slight differences between the Indo-Persian versions and the Turco-Mongolic versions, but generally they were close enough that you could argue that they were very close in power and effectiveness and things like that. Other weapons that could be used were used by both the Mughal army and the soldiers and militaries of the Deccan Plateau, including the Ahmednagar Sultanate, included things like battle axes, tridents, short swords or daggers, and of course spears and javelins that looked something like this. All right, so now we're going to move on to some of Malik Ambar's achievements. So for one thing, Malik Ambar would fairly quickly change the capital of the Ahmednagar Sultanate to the city of Junar, and he would go on to found a new city known as Khadki. And this is Junar here and Khadki here. Malik Ambar would also begin to implement several different reforms. He would start by recognizing the land tenureship rights of the landed population, especially the Narazi, a caste of fortune tellers, traditional singers, and dancers of a number of different communities in the Deccan Plateau. This decision had several advantages, as the landed gentry now had a vested interest in maintaining the Nizam Shah, and by proxy Ambar's rule over the Ahmednagar Sultanate, and would also aid in resistance against the Mughal presence in the Deccan Plateau. Ambar would also go on to reorganize the Ahmednagar's Sultanate's inefficient feudal revenue system by developing a tax policy that relied on accurate assessments of field cultivation and commodity values. This would be done by the state collecting as revenue 2/5 of produce and 1/3 of the nominal worth of the said produce in coins. This new tax structure would successfully generate steady income for the state without overburdening the taxpayers. Thus, the state and Ambar by proxy, would further win the support of the population. He would also generate new revenues by dealing efficiently with the Portuguese, the Dutch, and the British East India companies. Malik Ambar would also go on to construct various different public works, such as the Neher water system in Khadki, which he built in 1612 CE. However, his however, things would soon to look grim for Malik Ambar, because especially due to an individual by the name of Shah Jahan. Because despite helping Shah Jahan seize the Mughal throne, Malik Ambar would be later defeated when Shah Jahan would personally lead a massive army against the dwindling Ahmednagar Empire, later forcing Malik Ambar to cede full control of the cities of Berar and Ahmednagar itself, the city upon which the Sultanate slash empire got its name from, to the Mughal emperor as a sign of surrender. And this would happen very quickly in 1627 CE. And by very quickly, I mean Malik Ambar would help Shah Jahan ascend to the throne and then would be defeated by Shah Jahan in the same year of 1627 CE. However, Malik Ambar would see some success in defeating the Mughal army. In fact, he would defeat it several times, and actually would do so with the help of several Maratha chiefs, such as Lakuji Jadhav and excuse me, Shahaji Bhosle, and with their help would actually be able to recapture the Ahmednagar fort. However, fairly quickly after that, Malik Ambar would be defeated several times by the Mughal army, eventually leading to the Ahmednagar fort being recaptured by the Mughals, and would lead to many of the Maratha chiefs who had allied with Malik Ambar to switch allegiance to the Mughal Empire. And here is Lakushi Jadhav and Shahaji Bhosle. And here is the Ahmednagar fort. Eventually, after these several defeats and minor victories, Malik Ambar would die of old age in 1627 CE. Which leads us to our last section, the aftermath of Malik Ambar's death. So after Malik Ambar's death, he would be succeeded by his sons, but his sons were not the military or political leaders that their father was, and so they would be unable to withstand the Mughal Empire's military and would be eventually defeated and annexed into the defeated in the Ahmednagar Sultanate, would be annexed into the Mughal Empire by Shah Jahan's son, the Mughal Prince Aurangzeb, in 1636 CE. After which, Aurangzeb would take the city of Khadki and would rename it, would actually rename the city to Aurangabad after himself, which is not surprising at all, but it does sort of show how much Aurangzeb and obviously his father Shah Jahan thought of themselves. But with that, thus ended the legacy of Malik Ambar, the African lord who who defied the Mughal Empire. All right, with that, that ends our video. I know it was a relatively short one, but it was a video that was about a really fascinating figure in history, uh, especially in Black history. So I hope you all enjoyed it. If you want to see me cover any of the other subjects that I talked about in the video in greater detail in later videos, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. And remember to like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you all have a good day.